All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I want to preface this presentation by saying I'm on the mend from being sick. So if you hear me go silent for a few seconds, I'm probably just coughing, but I will be back and I will do my best. Today, this presentation is focusing mostly on weight management and how it's important to focus on the lifestyle rather than the diet. So let's go ahead, jump right in. All right, so we're going to start off this presentation with a few trivia questions. You can feel free to unmute yourself and say your answer or type your answer in the chat. But the first question is, what percent of adult Americans are overweight or obese? Is it 52%, 66%, 73%, or 85%? Well, have you noticed that they are all over 50%? All right, seeing some different answers. Right, and the correct answer is 73%. So as of 2023, the latest data states that the percent of adults over the age of 20 that are overweight, including obesity, is 73.6%. So actually closer to 74%. Of those, 42% of American adults had obesity, and 10% were severely obese, while another 30.7% were overweight with a BMI of 25 to 29.9. A new report also revealed that 19.3% of children and young people aged between 2 and 19 were obese, with 6.1% of kids identified as being severely obese and another 16.1% as overweight. It's important to note that the age group with the highest rates of obesity were those aged between 40 and 59, where 45% of people had a BMI of 30 or higher, with middle-aged men having the greatest obesity prevalence at 46%. This is to say it's incredibly common, especially in our country. So let's talk a little bit more about it. What are some risk factors for weight gain? A lot of us already know these things, or we already have an idea about it, but we like to break it down into two groups. We have our uncontrollable risk factors and our controllable factors. So the uncontrollable ones, the things that we cannot change, are our age, our genetics. We can't change our family history. If we're taking medication for certain health conditions, that's something we might not be able to control. And certain ethnicities are at higher risk than others, and we can't control our ethnicity. There are factors that we can control, though, and these include physical activity, what we eat, our stress level, how much we sleep. So it's really about balancing what we can control and what we cannot. Second question coming for you. So how many million Americans go on a diet every year? Is it 3 million, 10 million, 45 million, or 100 million? I see a guess for 45, 45. Great guess for the 45. So 45 million, that's the number of Americans that go on a diet each year. Many of them, as we know, right after the kind of hyper consumption of the holiday season. A lot of diets start in January. In fact, vowing to lose weight is one of the most common New Year's resolutions. It's unclear how successful those efforts are, though some experts say as few as 5% of dieters manage to keep the weight off long term. Now, a lot of us know this, but excessive weight can lead to a number of health problems, including high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, sleep disorders. And we'll talk about this a little later on, but we already know that excessive weight gain, some people may need to go the route of weight loss medication or surgery that can be recommended by our healthcare provider. Now let's talk a little bit about diets. Feel free to, answer in the chat, but how many fad diets can you name? Off the top of your head, what are some fad diets that you are aware of? There's been a few that have come around even in the past year, have gone crazy on social media. Jamie says Atkins, yes, the cabbage soup diet, absolutely. Paleo, hitting the nail on the head with these answers. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of fad diets out there. Everything from, like we said, Atkins, paleo, keto, to the raw food diet, the caveman diet, the lemonade diet, fasting can be considered a fad diet, and even the tapeworm diet or the cigarette diet. So some of these diets are outrageous, right? Especially the cigarette diet or the tapeworm diet. The thing about fad diets is not only are they often unhealthy or flat out dangerous, they are not sustainable. So, sure, I could go for a few weeks or months without eating bread or sugar or salt, but to do that for the rest of my life, you don't have to do that. The point of this presentation today, and we'll get into it in a few more slides, is talking about how weight management is a lifestyle and not a diet. All right, another question, another quiz. What percent of people who lose weight gain some or all of the weight back within 1 year? So of those who lose weight, how many gain the weight back within a year? Seeing 50%, seeing 85%, 75%. I'll tell you, the 85 and the 75 were very close. Good job on those guesses because the answer is 80%. So 80% of people who lose weight will gain some or all of the weight back within 1 year. And now this might feel a little discouraging, but that's why we're in this presentation today. That's why we're going to talk about why is this the case? Because it's the diet cycle, right? I've experienced this in my lifetime. I'm sure other people in this viewing this presentation have experienced this as well. You lose weight, you gain weight, you lose weight, you gain weight. And this happens a lot with fad diets or unsustainable diets. So what doesn't work? We know that fad diets, skipping meals, diet foods, if you're buying special herbs, if you're buying special supplements, liquid diets, these don't work. Many fad diets promise quick and easy weight loss solutions, but they can also interrupt real progress towards lifelong weight management. And it's important to remember the weight loss industry is worth $72 billion. So if fad diets delivered what they promise, the nation's obesity problem would have vanished. And if they never worked, people would also stop buying into them. In fact, most fad diets do limit calorie intake and produce weight loss, right? At least temporarily. So studies demonstrate, however, that fad diets aren't particularly ineffective for weight loss management. People may drop some weight, but they quickly gain it back. Straightforward calorie deficit turns out to be the real key to weight loss and not the elimination of protein, carbohydrates, or fat. Or the still unidentified metabolic metabolisms proposed by many fad diets. So keep in mind, the average person gains 11 pounds after every diet. And also, when you're dieting, it can be a loss of fat and muscle. If you're losing muscle, usually what comes back is the fat, not the muscle. And also, if we're restricting, we get cravings, we want to eat, we might binge, repeat, and that is the cycle. And that leads us to something called yo-yo dieting. Yo-yo dieting is associated with poor health outcomes, including higher risk for eating disorders, malnutrition, impaired quality of life and well-being. It can also put you at risk for bone diseases, anemia, metabolic abnormalities, hormone deficiencies, even heart problems. It might seem, how much damage can I really be doing to my body by losing 20 pounds, gaining 30 pounds, losing 40 pounds, gaining 10 pounds? But all of this weight cycling can cause really negative psychological and behavioral it can have those consequences as well. So not only is it putting your body through a lot of stress to lose weight and then gain weight, to lose weight and gain it, but it can also increase your risk for mental distress, life satisfaction, and binge eating. Studies have found that women who yo-yo dieted, especially if it occurred 5 or more times during their life, had a greater risk of heart disease beginning shortly after menopause. Researchers think that the link between yo-yo dieting and heart disease involves the cells that line the blood vessels. And when people gain and lose weight repeatedly, these cells become damaged, so blood can't flow as freely. Now, when blood flow to the heart becomes restricted, the stage is set for heart attack or stroke. Fad diets, like we said, can be harmful to your health. There's no research proving that fad diets are safe in the long term. However, a strong desire to improve health or lose weight often leads people to these fad diets. All right, so you might be saying, okay, I know fad diets aren't safe. I don't do them. I do calories in, calories out because that's what weight loss is, right? The answer is kinda, not quite. So this concept, it's based on the idea that as long as you eat fewer calories than you burn, you're bound to lose weight. Now let's break this down a little bit. Your body uses the calories that you get from food to fuel your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. It fuels digestion and physical activity. When the number of calories you consume matches the number of calories you burn, your weight will remain stable. Now, from a biological perspective, you need to eat fewer calories than you burn to lose weight. There's no way around it. This is true. However, when it comes to weight loss, there are some other factors that are not mentioned. Um, so first, some studies don't mention whether the weight loss came from muscle, fat, or water losses. So different diets affect muscle and water losses differently, which can make it seem as if they're more effective for fat loss when this isn't really the case. Number two, the source of calories. So the source where you're getting those calories from impacts your hormones and health differently. So there, like for example, the differing effects of glucose and fructose. Both simple sugars, both provide the same number of calories per gram, but your body metabolizes them in completely different ways. So a diet too rich in added fructose is linked to insulin resistance, increased blood sugar levels, higher triglyceride and LDL cholesterol levels than a diet providing the same number of calories from glucose. So that said, fruit, which contains natural fructose along with fiber and water, doesn't have the same negative effects as added fructose. What's more, the type of fat present in your diet can have different effects on your reproductive hormone levels. So for instance, diets rich in polyunsaturated fats appear to boost fertility in healthy women. What's more, replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats in your diet may further lower your risk of heart disease, even though both types provide the same number of calories per gram. Okay, number three, another factor. So the types of food you eat also affect how full you feel, right? So for instance, eating a 100-calorie serving of beans, which are high in protein and high in fiber, will reduce your hunger much more effectively than eating a 100-calorie serving of candy. Because we know protein and fiber are more filling than foods containing lower amounts of these nutrients. Fourth factor is, we've talked about this a little bit, but the source of your calories has different effects on your metabolism as well. Different foods affect your metabolism differently. So for instance, some require more work to digest, absorb, or metabolize than others. Protein, for example, requires more work for our body to digest than fat, requiring more calories to digest it. Nutrient density also matters. So nutrient-dense foods provide higher amounts of vitamins, of minerals, of different beneficial compounds per gram compared with less nutrient-dense foods. And diets rich in nutrient-dense foods are consistently linked to a lower risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease, and may even help you live longer. So for instance, fruits are much more nutrient-dense than donuts. Calorie for calorie, Fruit will provide a much larger dose of vitamins, minerals, and beneficial plant compounds. And other factors just generally not mentioned when we're talking calories in versus calorie out are genetics, stress levels, sleep. These all play a role, and we'll be talking about them a little later on in this presentation. So, why is this important to know the difference between lifestyle and diet? A diet consists of temporarily changing your eating habits to promote a certain outcome, most likely weight loss, before returning to your previous eating habit. On the other hand, a lifestyle change consists of adopting healthy overall habits that promote long term weight control and health. In addition, diets focus on food intake, while lifestyle changes incorporate what you eat along with other factors that affect weight and health, such as physical activity. Can a diet become a lifestyle? Possibly, but it depends on the quality of that diet. So you might have heard this, especially from people who have successful long-term weight loss, is that it's not a diet, it's not a phase, it's a permanent lifestyle change. Um, It's not just about weight loss and looking a certain way, and it's not just about hitting a certain number on the scale. It's about feeling better, being healthier, and being happier. Taking care of your body, right? It's the only place we have to live. Before we set out to change our body weight, we want to think about our motivation for doing so. So many people strive to change their body not to improve their health, but because their weight fails to meet society's ideas of attractiveness. Unfortunately, this type of thinking sets people up for disappointment because if you're only changing your body for other people, um, that's not a lifestyle, right? To live a life serving others in that way. All right, so let's talk some benefits of lifestyle change versus a diet. So when you change your lifestyle, oftentimes it's going to be met with more energy, mental clarity, sleeping better, improved mood, improved physical health, and balancing your hormones. Um, what are some traits of a healthy lifestyle? These are, kind of pretty textbook, but eating breakfast every day, um, getting exercise at least 30 minutes most days of the week, 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, developing a healthy work life balance, being consistent with your eating habits, and tracking your goals, tracking your nutrition, your activity, your measurements. Now, I want to note something about all of these lifestyle traits. Remember at the very beginning of the presentation when we said it comes down to two things, uncontrollable factors and controllable factors. All of these things are things that we can control. All right. Remember, all these lifestyle traits are things that we can control, that we can wake up every day and choose to do. Um, and so it comes down to that. Now, let's start by talking a little bit about changing how we eat. Now, you've probably heard of it before, but mindful eating is the practice of listening to those internal appetite cues and paying full attention to how your body is feeling during the eating process. It often involves eating slowly, eating without distractions, so not scrolling on your phone or watching TV, and chewing food thoroughly so that you can savor the aroma and the taste of your meal. When you eat this way, you're more likely to stop eating when you're truly full. And if you eat while distracted, it can be difficult to recognize that fullness. Oftentimes, you end up overeating. Studies show that mindful eating helps with weight maintenance by targeting behaviors that are commonly associated with weight gain, including emotional eating. And what's more, those who eat mindfully may be able to maintain their weight without counting calories. This also might be known as intuitive eating, if that's something that you've heard of as well. Now, think about it. Your brain is always on. You can't turn it off. It takes care of your thoughts, your movements, your breathing, your heartbeat, your senses. It works hard 24/7, even when you're asleep. This means that your body requires a constant supply of fuel. That fuel, as we know, comes from the foods you eat, and what's in that fuel makes all the difference. Put simply, what you eat directly affects the structure and function of your body and ultimately your mood. So, like an expensive car, we'll do a little comparison. Like an expensive car, your body functions best when it gets only premium fuel. Eating high quality foods that contain lots of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, things that nourish the body and protect it from oxidative stress. Um, Unfortunately, just like an expensive car, your body can also be damaged if you ingest anything other than premium fuel. So, if substances from the low premium fuel, like processed or refined foods, get to the body, it might have little ability to get rid of them. Diets high in refined sugars, for example, can be harmful to the body, especially over time. In addition to worsening your body's regulation of insulin, they can also promote inflammation and oxidative stress. Multiple studies have found a correlation between a diet high in refined sugars and impaired brain function, and even worsening of symptoms of mood disorders such as depression. So it's important just to start paying attention to how eating different foods makes you feel. I'm not saying you should not cut out any foods or any food groups. It's okay to eat. It's okay to eat cake. It's okay to eat fries. It's okay to order a pizza on a Friday night, right? But just pay attention to how those foods make you feel, not just in the moment when you're eating it, but the next day or later that day. It might be helpful to try eating a quote unquote relatively clean diet for 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe cutting back on processed foods, sugar, just seeing how you feel. Remember, it can be an experiment. It doesn't have to be a lifelong thing at the get-go. But if you're wondering how it might feel to start eating, eggs and granola or yogurt and granola every day for breakfast instead of cereal, try it out. See how you feel. You can also always just slowly introduce foods back into your diet one by one. See how you feel. All right. You might be saying, I don't know. I don't know when I'm hungry. I don't know when I'm full. I've always been, I grew up with a clean plate club. I need to finish my plate. So how can we read those hunger and fullness cues? So when the body needs refueling, we start feeling tired, we start feeling weak, we find it harder to concentrate at work. Um, the stomach, as we know what it feels like to have an empty stomach. When when we know where it is, right below our rib cage, when that starts to ache and rumble, that's true stomach hunger. We're actually hungry. When we begin eating in response, we really enjoy the food, we start feeling better because a bodily need is being met. If you don't feed your body when it needs food, the physical symptoms intensify. Your stomach starts to really hurt. You find it more difficult to concentrate. You might even get lightheaded or get headaches. You might be hangry and be irritable and short tempered. In addition, some people get shaky and nervous. Because you are so ravenous at this point, once you do start to eat, you're very vulnerable to uncontrolled eating or binging. Now, so it's important to start when you start feeling hungry, not when you are, at the very threshold of I could eat an entire cow. Um, when to stop eating. If we're eating mindfully, we want to stop as soon as we feel comfortable and satisfied, not stuffed and not where we need to um, unbelt and unbutton our pants at the restaurant, right? We want to feel calmer, more alert, energized. We want to feel satiated. Again, not stuffed. All right, we have a question. How long does it take the brain to register that you're full? How soon does your brain pick up that you are full when you are eating? Do we think it's 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes? I see 15 minutes. And the answer is approximately 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes to feel full once you start eating. chances are that we remember this tidbit after we've already had extra donuts because we were still hungry. But when we eat and put food in our mouth, we have receptors for things like taste and texture, and our brain registers this and goes, oh, that's good. I like that. Keep eating. And it's not until this food gets into the stomach and into the gut that it starts to release those hormones that go back to the brain to tell us that we're full. All right. But it does take approximately 20 minutes. And this is where that mindful, slow eating comes into play, right? Because can you wolf down, a foot long from Subway in 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Sure, depends how hungry you are. But if your brain's not registering that for 20 minutes, you might not have needed to eat that full foot long, and you might feel overstuffed by the time you're done. If we're taking one bite at a time, chewing slowly, really savoring the taste, and not taking another bite until after we swallow the first bite. This can help our body to have that time to register what is going on. Now, a lot of us do this. I know I do myself, is confusing hunger with other things that our body needs. Sometimes we confuse the sluggishness of dehydration or the headaches with actual hunger, when sometimes your body just wants fluids, not necessarily food. Fatigue. So when we sense that our energy levels are low, some of us automatically think that if we eat something, we'll feel better. However, if we've been working extra hard, or if we haven't been getting enough sleep, or if we're stressed, um, our bodies might be calling for rest, not food. Now, emotional hunger, this is huge. When we feel maybe an ache and an emptiness in our hearts due to unmet emotional or spiritual needs, and rather than acknowledge our feelings and work through the issues, we would rather try to fill the void with food. Or sometimes we just use food to stuff the feelings down. Although there can be physical discomfort in the gut when we're upset, it's a distinctly different sensation from stomach hunger. So just be careful. When you're eating, of being mindful of how your body is feeling in that moment. All right, I believe this is our last question of the presentation. Um, Actually, I take that back, but regardless, we have another question. How many ounces of water should we drink every day? Is it a gallon, one of those huge jugs, 2 liters? Um, Cassie says 50% of your body weight in ounces. Depends on your weight. Wonderful answers. You two are ahead of the curve. Um, you're absolutely right. The answer is it depends because there's no one size fits all answer. Um, Water intake is individualized. Uh, and as a general rule of thumb, Cassie, you were correct, about 50% of your body weight in ounces per day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should shoot for 100 ounces a day. Now, there's no, again, if you're wondering if you're not getting enough water, if you're feeling regularly dehydrated, recommend checking with your doctor at your next checkup. Just ask about what's the right amount for you. Now, it is possible to take in too much water if you have certain health conditions like thyroid disease or kidney, liver, heart problems, or if you're taking medications that make you retain water. But even a healthy person's water needs will vary, especially if you're losing water through sweat because you're exercising or if you're outside on a hot day. Um, but yeah, general rule of thumb, 50% of your body weight in ounces. All right. I like to just throw in that question about hydration just as a friendly reminder. Um, so how can we transition from dieting and yo-yo dieting and fad diets and desperately wanting to lose weight and look better to a sustainable lifestyle change, right? How do we do that? Um, First step is finding your motivation, finding your why. Why do you want to lose weight or manage weight or gain weight, whatever your goal is? Why do you want to do it? Is it because you want to feel better about yourself? Do you want to have more energy for your family, for your friends, for your kids, your grandkids? Is it just because you want to accomplish something, like run a 5K, or is it, do you want to set a good example for your children? There's all kinds of reasons, but find your motivation. Find what is driving you and identify that. Write it down. Put it as a reminder in your phone. Something that you can come back to. Next is making time for yourself daily. This is essential. You can't get anywhere with a goal if you're not making time for it, right? Um, and then again, losing the excuses. So, like we know, there's uncontrollable factors and there's controllable factors, all right? I'm not going to call uncontrollable factors excuses because I don't want to invalidate them because they are they are real factors, family history, genetics, health conditions, these are all real reasons. That these are all real things that can interfere with weight management, with our goals. But with that being said, it's important to focus on, again, what we can control and make those items a priority. Um, for making me time, decide how you want to spend it. You can, as just kind of a recommendation, you can write a list of all the healthy wellness activities you enjoy. So if you like walking or hiking, um, stretching, doing a crossword puzzle, make a list of healthy things you enjoy. And then also evaluate things that are maybe wasting your time by prioritizing your schedule in a planner. So, example, if you're running to the supermarket or out to eat every day instead of shopping in advance for your meals, let's see how we can rearrange that to make it a little more you focused for your health as well. All right. Next is finding a support system. This is huge. It's easier to do pretty much anything with other people backing you up. So, looking for people like you're able to share the same level of openness and comfort with someone. So, if someone else is also, struggling or wanting to lose weight, or maybe your goal isn't weight management, maybe it's someone who wants to become more involved in their community, or whatever your goal is, find someone who's trying to do the same thing. It can be really helpful for accountability, for support, for someone to understand what you're experiencing. Again, spend time with others. You don't have to feel like you have to be independent all the time. And then lastly, enlist friends, family, coworkers to help keep you on track with your goals. So chances are you will lean on them when you're feeling unmotivated or discouraged, but you can also celebrate with them when you hit a milestone. And chances are you might find someone else looking for that same support. Next, for lifestyle, is tracking your progress. So if you're transitioning from a diet to kind of lifestyle, um, at the onset, keeping records can be really helpful for success. So, recording your food intake, recording exercise, as well as sleep, stress levels can help you to spot trends and identify areas needed for improvement. Um, there are tons of apps for this. If you have a smartwatch, there are lots of health apps that will track your sleep, your stress, your steps, everything, your food, your, temperature changes. Um, that being said, you can also do it the old-fashioned way with a journal and a pen. So that is up to you. But I also want to note on this, while it's important to track your progress and keep measurements, I just want to note that calorie tracking apps can be helpful at the onset to maybe understand how much energy you're consuming, how many calories you are taking in. However, tracking apps may not be sustainable in the long term, and some people may develop unhealthy relationships with tracking or with the food itself. So, if at any point, if you are on if you are trying to transition into a lifestyle where you're focusing on your health, on weight management, if at any point you start to feel antsy, anxious, depressed, paranoid about how many calories are in a certain food or about how much you've consumed, etc., it's time to take a step back, stop tracking, and potentially seek professional help depending on how you're feeling. Okay, I just want to make note of that. Alrighty, this is really helpful getting a handle on your health. So go see your doctor, go see your dentist, go see your eye doctor. Go see all your specialists. Even if you're feeling good, it's always a good idea to make sure everything is running smoothly, right? Treat your body like an expensive car. Don't wait until it breaks down. Make sure you're doing you're doing that preventative maintenance. Get yourself screened, get yourself immunized, and get the answers to all of those questions that may be on in your mind. Um, t- Again, this might not be for everyone, but if it is for you, you can take measurements, especially at the onset, maybe, your height, your weight, uh, different body measurements, just to see if you're making progress. But you can also use non-scale, non-measurement victories. Maybe you're fitting into a different jean size, or maybe you can fit into the rides at Cedar Point with your kids, or you can walk around the block a few times without getting winded. All right, there's all different ways to measure your progress. Assessing physical activity. So when you're doing physical activity, do you enjoy it? Is there variety? How hard are you working? These are all questions to ask yourself. And then lastly, getting to know your stress and emotions, taking check of how you as a person are feeling during this process, during this lifestyle change. Alrighty, this can be hard, learning and growing from setbacks. So nobody likes failures or setbacks. But as we know, they're one of the most helpful learning opportunities that we have, right? Think about it. When you have achieved an objective, you'll get anything from a pat on the back to a bonus, depending on how important the goal was to the company. But then it's simply back to work, on to the next challenge. Yet after setbacks, great business leaders use their power of reflection and analysis to learn what went wrong, how to avoid the same mistake in the future. So look at the bigger picture, see how far we've come, and we can learn and grow. Same thing applies to our health. All right. And we don't want to change everything at once. Although, we might make a New Year's resolution and we might say, okay, starting on January 1st, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes every day, and I'm not going to eat out at all, and I'm not going to drink any pop, and I'm going to, and the list goes on and on and on, right? Don't change everything at once. It can be really helpful to start with small changes and set smaller, realistic goals. An example might just be drinking more water, using a smaller plate, or going to bed half an hour earlier. Um, you can always pick up habits over time too. You don't have to do them all at once. So maybe week 1, you say, I'm going to cut out pop. Once you've been successful with that for 2 weeks, you say, okay, I'm going to go to bed half an hour earlier. You can always build up with your habits. That can help it be a little bit more long term, a little bit more sustainable than a whole lifestyle change. Now, the most successful weight losers and maintainers, right? People, managing their weight, include physical activity in their plans. However, weight loss through physical activity alone is generally not easily achieved. It's a lot of diet. Um, a combination of moderate to vigorous aerobic exercise, along with strength training at a safe level, seems best for health. However, some physical activity is better than none. Most important, perform at your own comfortable pace within your current abilities. So, rushing to improve is pretty much a guarantee for an injury. Um, there are all kinds of active video games and video fitness programs that can help you meet your physical activity needs, for those if that's something you're interested in. But most people lose interest in just a short while with, just doing videos or just doing video fitness programs. Real sports activities not only require more energy than their video counterparts, excuse me, but also hold people's interest year after year. Um, Fitness also benefits from hundreds of activities required for daily living, right? This could be washing the car, raking leaves, taking the stairs, many, many others. However you do it, just be active, whether it's walking, swimming, skating, dancing, cycling, skipping, lifting weights. Find something that you enjoy and do that. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to be a runner. Find a way where you like to move your body and do that. Alrighty. Upgrading your nutrition. Um, so, healthy eating patterns for weight loss should provide all of the needed nutrients in the form of fresh fruits and vegetables, low fat milk products, substitutes, legumes, lean meats, fish, poultry, nuts, whole grains, right? These foods are necessary for adequate protein, carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and are all generally associated with leanness. Um, we want to choose our fat sensibly by avoiding most solid fats and including enough unsaturated oils like olive oil or nuts to support our health. If you don't know where to start on the nutrition piece, I highly recommend checking out on your health hub. There is a weight management guide that has some recipes in there. Or if you go to the Capnick Strive Wellness portal and you go to the Healthy Learn library, there's all kinds of healthy recipes and nutrition information there as well. All right, managing stress. It's really important to develop positive skills to cope with stress, especially if emotional eating is something that you are prone to do. Um, Something that helps me is asking myself, will this matter in a week from now, in a month, in a year, in 5 years? How stressed do I need to be about this in this moment, actually, right? So, where your focus goes, energy flows. So, if you're changing your focus, you can change your feeling. Once you change your focus, um, it just starts to help change how you feel. So, um, if you're looking for some coping strategies, um, I recommend a gratitude journal. There are all kinds of different breathing methods, deep breathing methods, or meditation. There are so many playlists or videos on YouTube for guided meditations for stress relief. And there's also just different perspective thinking, right? Perspective thinking is, changing how you think about a situation. So, if a stressful event occurs, asking yourself, okay, is this the end or the beginning? Um, how else can I look at this? How is this person thinking of this, etc. Okay, catching some sleep. So, sleep is incredibly important to our health, I think more so than we give it credit for. Over the past several decades, the amount of time that Americans spend sleeping has steadily decreased, as has the self reported quality of that sleep. So, not only are we getting less sleep, we're getting worse sleep. Um, for much of the same time period, the average BMI of Americans also increased, reflecting a trend towards higher body weights and elevated rates of obesity. Now, correlation is not causation, but they did happen at the same time. So, in response to these trends, a lot of researchers began to hypothesize about potential connections between weight and sleep. Now, numerous studies have suggested that restricted sleep and poor sleep quality may lead to metabolic disorders, weight gain, and increased risk of obesity and other chronic health conditions. So, the neurotransmitters, ghrelin and leptin, are thought to be central to appetite. Ghrelin promotes hunger, and leptin contributes to feeling full. The body naturally increases and decreases the levels of these neurotransmitters throughout the day, signaling the need to consume calories to eat. However, a lack of sleep may affect the body's regulation of these neurotransmitters. So, in one study, men who got 4 hours of sleep had increased ghrelin and decreased leptin compared to those who got 10 hours of sleep. This dysregulation of ghrelin and leptin may lead to increased appetite and diminished feelings of fullness in people who are sleep deprived. So, just some general advice for getting quality of sleep or improving your sleep, especially if you're trying to lose or manage your weight, is keeping a regular sleep schedule. So going to bed around the same time every night, waking up around the same time every day, shooting for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, no less than seven. Um, Sleeping in a dark room, so not falling asleep to the TV, not falling asleep with a light on. This can help us get better quality sleep. We don't want to eat or drink right before bed, um, especially caffeine. No caffeine before bed. Ideally, no caffeine in the afternoon or at least like 6 hours before bed. We talked about stress management in the last slide. Reducing our stress can also improve our sleep. Um, and don't ignore chronic sleep problems. So sometimes sleeplessness is natural. Sometimes you just can't fall asleep. Maybe one night a month, right? But if that's happening more than once a month, or if it's every night, you're unable to fall asleep, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, or you're just not getting enough. Talk to your doctor about it. You might feel like you can like power through And as long as you're getting some sleep, you'll be okay. Talk to your doctor. Quality sleep can make incredible changes in your mood and your physical health. It is worth it. All right. This slide may look a little silly given the cold temperatures that we've been experiencing. But let's talk a little bit about summer because it'll be here before we know it. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself. We often think the holidays are the time to gain weight, right? Which is true. We do. We gain, around, I think, 2.5 pounds on average over the holidays. However, summer weight gain isn't uncommon either. It might seem strange considering, we're spending more time outside or maybe eating more seasonal produce. But summer has its own landmines, right? So a typical weekend could take you from your kid's soccer game to barbecue, to the ice cream shop. So, suddenly a summer Saturday is filled with all these fun outdoor activities, but it's also introduced hundreds of foods and snacks and things that otherwise we likely would not have eaten. So when it comes to eating, just consistency is your friend. Stick to your routine as much as possible, and by all means, take advantage of those fresh fruits and vegetables available to you. Again, stay hydrated. It's not happening yet, but when the heat and humidity are brutal, you do need those extra sips, those extra fluids. Um, we'll move to this next slide. It's just more about just a little, I guess. Oh, I forgot to ask the question at the bottom of the slide. It's okay. So the average person consumes around 3,200 calories at a barbecue. This might not be surprising to some, because we all love to eat at barbecues, right? So between the mayo-based salads, the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the ribs, the chips, the dip, the lemonades, all the desserts, all enjoyable, all delicious. However, it can add up to be a lot, right? So just something to be wary of. Again, when we talk lifestyle versus diet, a diet, if you go to a barbecue, you might say, oh, I need to track everything. Oh, I can't eat that potato salad. Oh, I can't eat that cookie. Oh, I can't do this, right? Lifestyle is, okay, I can enjoy some of these foods. I'm going to eat them slowly. I'm going to eat them mindfully. Maybe I'll graze over time. I can eat this, I can eat that, but I'm just going to think about my health and be more mindful of it. And then lastly, this is really important. It's just 10 tips for accepting a healthy body weight, right? And I'm going to read through them all. Number 1, value yourself and others for traits other than body weight. Focusing on your whole self, including your intelligence, maybe your personality, your social graces, your professional achievements, right? Number 2, realize that prejudging people by weight is as harmful as prejudging them by race, religion, gender, etc. 3, use only positive, non-judgmental descriptions of your body. Never use degrading, just negative descriptions. All right. This is incredibly important. And I think over time, it can also reshape your own perspective of yourself. And especially if you have kids, how you talk about your body is how they will learn to talk about their bodies, right? So you don't want to stand in the mirror and say, "Oh, I'm a cow," "Oh, I look terrible." No, reframe, reframe those thoughts in your mind, and focus on the positives, right? Oh, I am really strong. My thighs are big; they're really strong. Um, just focusing on those positives. And also, in turn, accepting positive comments from others. People likely wouldn't tell you a positive comment if they didn't mean it. Number 5, this has been the whole point of this presentation, accepting that no magic diet exists or works. No fad diet is going to give you the perfect body of your dreams, right? Number 6, stop dieting to lose weight. It's all about adopting healthy eating, healthy, sustainable eating, and an exercise lifestyle permanently, right? Number 7, become physically active, not because it'll help you get thin, but because it will enhance your health. And it will enhance your health in ways beyond your physical health. This is something I've personally experienced, for years and years and years and years, it was working out strictly for weight loss, and how terrible it was, to work out just for that reason. However, transforming your mindset into working out for your overall health, for your mental health, for your physical health, because you enjoy it, because it makes you feel stronger, because it makes you feel better in your body. These are all great reasons to be physically active, not just to see a smaller number on the scale. Number 8 is seeking support from loved ones. Tell them of your plans for a healthy life in the body that you've been given, you know. It might be inspiring to them. You might find support that you didn't know existed. It's worth talking about. Number 9, if you need to, seek professional counseling, not from a weight loss counselor, but from someone who supports your self-esteem and you as a whole person. And then lastly, number 10, joining in with others to fight against weight discrimination and stereotypes. Remember, lifestyle, not a diet. All right, so if you're looking where to get started, it's all about, from the top, setting realistic goals for yourself. Again, doesn't have to be all at once. A realistic goal might be, I'm going to set this new habit in the month of January. I'm going to incorporate another new habit in the month of February. Find what's realistic for you. Adopting healthy eating patterns, taking on physical activities that you enjoy and that make your body and brain feel good, creating a supportive environment, whether it be family, friends, an online forum, something that you find is supportive to you in your efforts, seeking out behavioral and social support, and very importantly, getting some sleep. It might feel like a lot, but over time, it becomes your lifestyle, and then it's just that, and then it's just how you live. It's not so hard down the road. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. My email is here on the slide, emma.lau@kapnick.com. But thank you very much for joining this presentation today, and I wish you the best as we move into 2024.